Welcome to Beauty Business Matters. I'm your host, Susan Routledge, and I am here with the awesome Amanda Pearson of Skin Revolution. Amanda has been in the industry for many years and is a true specialist in skin. And her journey is so interesting. So this is going to be a great episode. Welcome, Amanda. I am so thrilled that you decided to come and be a guest because, wow, your journey is through the industry has been awesome. And I know you don't think it, but you are such an inspiration, Can we just start back with, because the beauty industry wasn't your first choice of career, was it?
It was initially. I trained as a beauty therapist in the 3-year hair and beauty course back in the whenever it was, years ago, and did hair and beauty, and then I came out of the industry for a little while.
Right, yeah.
And I went back to university, did a biology degree, and then worked in pharmaceuticals for a while.
So pharmaceuticals in what, like what, doing what?
So I was a cardiology specialist. I was launching a new drug in the southeast for one of the big medical companies, which I loved, but I then took a career break to have children.
Yeah.
And when I came back, that job didn't work. It's a bit complicated. I lived abroad for a few years during that time as well. And when I came back, I was missing my beauty career, if you like, and also the science of my pharmaceutical career and using my knowledge that I'd learnt in my degree. And I ended up working from home while the kids were settling in from moving back abroad. And then I discovered the amazing level 4 qualifications, which had just come out, which were a game changer.
Right, let's unpack all of this. Let's go back.
That's very potted.
My God, because you just take it all for granted. It's like, oh, I've done this and I've done that. So originally you trained your 3 years.
Yes.
Was that hair and beauty?
Yes.
Obviously didn't do anything with the hair side.
I did a little bit, actually. I did a little bit of driving around in my Mini and freelancing and probably doing diabolical haircuts. But I tried my own little business for a while, yeah.
Was that around the time when perms were out, though? Because
Absolutely.
That's when I did hair.
Absolutely.
You could get away with a really bad cut with a good perm.
Yeah, exactly. Hours and hours of rolling, and that smell never coming off your skin ever. That permanent smell.
Yeah. So, right. So you started freelancing a little bit. Then, what else did you do with your beauty side?
I had a business in Chingford for a little while with someone I trained with at college. We started our own business.
Yeah.
And we were in the back of a hairdresser's and we were doing really quite well, but I was kind of young, early 20s.
Yeah.
Far more interested in having fun than working hard. I'm sure if I'd stayed a bit focused then, things might have been different.
Yeah. But you obviously had the entrepreneurial spark way back then.
Yeah, I was employed by a few times in a couple of salons, but it just wasn't quite doing it for me. And I think the difference I didn't realise until after I'd been through the degree in my pharmaceutical work that actually, hang on a minute, it seems almost like those two areas don't marry up, but actually there's a massive, what's the word I'm looking for? They work synergistically really well, particularly in the skin arena, which I work in now.
Yeah. So, right, your pharmaceutical, because then you were like, oh, and then I went to work abroad a few years. So, hang on, your pharmaceutical, you started working in that, and then how did you end up abroad?
So, my ex-husband's job moved abroad, and I actually lived, we moved abroad for 5 years when the kids were younger. And I didn't work in that period because I wasn't allowed. We were actually in Bermuda, and only one person in the family gets a work permit.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't work. It was lovely because it's lovely to have that time when the children are young to bring up the kids. But when I got back, I was desperate to get back to work. Mm-hmm.
So then when you came back?
Then when I came back, originally we had a little building outside the house that we'd done up with the plan that I was going to put an au pair in it. And then I was going to go back to my pharmaceutical career because that was the one I'd recently left.
Yeah.
And I did find the independence. You worked, although I was employed, I had my own patch, my own business within that. It's very much like running a column in a beauty salon. It was my business within the business to drive it. But I didn't do that in the end, because basically settling 2 young children who've been living miles away back into the UK was tough.
Yeah.
So we wrote that off. But I had then had this room that I'd not even seen, because the builders had done it when I walked in. I walked into this room and it was just screaming back to beauty.
Yeah.
So I literally started off, I had no clients, printed off some leaflets myself, and when the kids went to school, I literally walked around the area sticking them through front doors.
Oh, I can remember doing that. My mum and I out with our leaflets, doing
Yeah.
a leaflet drop. And the thing is, I don't know about you, but I was like, we did a leaflet drop. And when I got back, because obviously before mobile phones,
Yeah.
the phone was ringing.
I know,
and I
magical.
Was like, oh my word.
Absolutely magical. And I still remember my first client came in and had an eyelash tin. Obviously, I patch tested at first. Came back the next day, and I think I charged it it was £10. And that £10 note going in my hand, because I hadn't worked for 5 years while I'd been abroad, was just that feeling. It was like, yes, this is what I need. I need to go back to work. So I started working from there. Got really quite busy as school hours would allow, pretty much. And I used to have someone come in and babysit at night, so I could do a late night.
And was this beauty you were
That
doing
was
then?
beauty, and I took a bit of a risk, which I've taken lots of in my career, really. And I bought a casing machine.
Yeah.
Almost a bit out of the blue, really. Another one of those maybe not thought. If I'd looked at it financially, I probably wouldn't have made that decision, but I'm glad I did. And I had, mostly they were nail clients, waxing, that normal jazz, a bit of facial work. And I literally fell in love with the results.
Yeah.
And it started from there, really.
Yeah. But as well, because obviously it's a higher revenue as
Yeah.
well. So I would have thought that would be your first eye-opener into, and start to generate
it is.
more with a higher, or was it
It
just
is.
results?
No, for me, I'm so passionate about the change it makes for people, particularly actually the emotional change it makes in them. And
Yeah.
for Kate, the whole anti-aging, that's a bad word, I don't like anti-aging, but aging well, there's a real difference to look at yourself in the mirror and think I'm aging well, and being happy to be aging, and being really miserable every morning because you don't like what you see in the mirror.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, that has always, when I look at all the high points in my career, it's not ever financially driven for me. Obviously, it needs to be there to support the staff and the clinic, but for me, it is the joy and the confidence and the massive changes it makes. And obviously, when you're doing things like Casey or any of our facial work, we see our clients twice a week, 3 times a week, some of them, and for a long time.
Yeah.
Particularly now, because obviously I deal with quite complex skin issues,
Yeah.
much more complicated than before. And you build this absolutely wonderful relationship with the clients.
So let's go back still to so you're in your
My
one
room.
bed, your one room kind of thing.
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
How long did I do that for? I actually had someone employed there towards the end. And then we actually sold the house. I got divorced and sold the house,
Oh, right.
which left me in a bit of a position because I had 2 youngish children, a house move to make and a business move to make. And I moved the business to, luckily I used to go to a gym that was within walking distance, and they gave me a room at the back there. Again, a lot of my decisions have been made more by what else is, I kind of swim with the tide a bit. So there I had 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And it was much better. I much preferred working away from home. But that was the point I started to study as well.
But the thing is that what I love about you, Amanda, is because all the time that I've known you, you're always thinking outside the box as well. You know, like all these things when you're like saying, oh yeah, you've had to like make these changes. But the thing is that like you're very solution orientated. You always look for like the next best thing, and like always striving, which I love. But obviously, I know we touched on it earlier on, because like you did all this training and everything, but then it also had a little bit of a detriment, didn't it? Because you were doing too much.
Yeah, I mean, I can become really hyper-focused in whatever I want to do. And if someone puts a challenge in front of me or says you can't do this, then by nature I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it 10 times harder than anyone else. And I was, for a point, newly divorced. I was getting up at 5 a.m. to study while the kids were still asleep, getting them to school, dealing with the clients, picking them up from school, getting them to bed, more study, and that went on. And when they got a little bit older and I could get them some childcare after school, it wouldn't be unusual for me to do 10, and in fact the weekends their dad have them 10 or 12-hour days. And actually, eventually, it takes a toll.
Yeah.
Physically.
I see this all the time, and you know, I always like to say you're not superwoman, but like, I think as well when you're driven in business, it is very easy to like think, and I know you as a personality, you always strive to be the best. I know you said you always do things 10 times harder, but it's not. I think you do things 10 times better, or really want to excel in everything you do, which is like such a great quality. But we see it all the time in our industry, and I'm sure it's in other industries, where as an entrepreneur and a driven business owner, it's very easy to like sort of put that first, and like in your body and your mind and everything second to that. And your body eventually will like go like, oh, I've had enough. I'm stopping you now. And
yeah,
that's
I mean, it took a while, and by the time all that started to go wrong, I was in my new clinic where I am now. So I had the staff and stuff. But yeah, I think you can't work that hard without eventually having a bit of a payback.
Yeah.
And my issue always was, it wasn't necessarily, I wasn't working that hard, and this is probably the unusual bit. I wasn't working that hard because I wanted to earn the extra money. I was working that hard because I was emotionally attached, and by that point I was dealing with teenage boys with acne and all kinds of issues that are really have a huge emotional effect on the client. And when you start to help them, you become, for some of them, indeed, I've had to learn that lesson as well, you can end up becoming a bit of a lifeline for them.
That's the thing, because you're taking on someone else's energy as well. So you really wanting them to get the best results, and also for them to be feeling better in themselves as well. So did you have to take any time off work, or did you just realise that you were overstretching yourself and you could then just pull back a bit?
Well, I didn't actually. With my neck, when I damaged the discs in my neck, I worked probably for 3 years with my arm being a bit peculiar, and just going to see an osteopath like we all do, and thinking it was a bit of tension, and stop holding your arms like this and carry on. And actually, in the end, I had an MRI, and the surgeon phoned me and basically said, you've got 10 days. I'm going to take that disc out.
Wow.
So I had a 10-day notice. And actually, I was, again, that was one of those things that did work in the business in my favour and the business's favour, because clients that I had by that point, some of my clients I'd had 10 years, and they didn't necessarily want to go and see, as brilliant as my girls are, and they are amazing, they didn't want to move away from me, partly because I knew 10 years of their secrets and life stories and everything else. And it's very hard to convince them to move into your column. But when I phoned them and said, look, I've got to have some emergency surgery, absolutely every one of them was more concerned about me, totally supportive, had facials with my girls, and came back saying, well, they're good, aren't they? And I was like, some of them are better than me, you know. And that actually allowed me to start looking, as you would always say, as coming out of the business, to manage the business a bit.
But it is very hard to, when you are the main person in the business, to your team always will, in a client's eyes, be secondary kind of thing, and it's not in a bad way, but you would always be the VIP option for a client. A client would always want to be with the owner, and I always think that's like stepping out. When I stepped out, it was like the best thing ever, because it just gave the team a chance to shine, kind of thing. Whereas they were always a little bit overshadowed by me, not because I was better, but because I was the salon owner. And I always find this as well when anyone's talking about retail, and they're always like, say, well, I can sell. Why can't my team? And I'm like, because you're the salon owner. That's the thing. And I can even walk into my clinic now and pick something off a shelf and say to a client, this would be perfect for you. I might not even know exactly what's in it, but know that it is a great product. But they'll trust me just simply because of who I am. So, go on. Was all this while you were in the back room at the gym then, or had you moved?
No. That's when I was working like a loony. That was where we are now. So we've been there now 8 years, within the last 8 years. But it's definitely wear and tear from all those years before.
Yeah. But now you are a lot more. I think something like that happens makes you realise that you have got to put yourself.
Although having said that, I have made the decision that for me, what I'm missing recently is actually the contact and the stories. So before, I had kind of assumed the role that I was doing most of the consultations. We do, tucking into the retail thing, we kind of do a deal with our clients. So when they come to see us, they've had a very big consultation form sent to them. They have an hour, usually with me or one of my senior therapists, and we'll talk to them about what we can do for them. Bearing in mind, a lot of them will come to us with stuff that maybe the GP hasn't fixed. They could have problems that have lasted 10, 15 years. Some of them are really quite complicated. So we do a very, very thorough thing. And I will always sit and say to them at the end, we can fix this together. I'll do 50% of the work, but you've got to do 50% at home. And that includes following our home care advice. Because absolutely, if they can't maintain what we're doing in clinic, it will go horribly wrong. I always say to them, you could have the fanciest facial in the world, but if you're going to go home and use a baby wipe and lay in the sun and not wear any UV screen, then we're going to go backwards. So we actually have and I'm very strong about it, we have a refuse to treat policy, which I use quite a bit. If I've got a client in front of me covered in a lot of scarring and they're saying, well, we need to take it off, yes, we can do that. But we need to prep the skin properly on the right products. We're going to do needling or FSR or whatever it is, or peels within it that we're going to do. But if they won't agree to do the stuff at home, then absolutely I won't treat them. Because if they leave the clinic having microneedling and they're not using the right products and they're not wearing any UV screen, they're going to go backwards.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, like a monthly facial, that you're still leaving a client, that's still only 12 hours a year. You're still leaving a client 364 and a half days a year to their own devices, kind of thing. So we have exactly the same. Like the thing is, as well, a client they're not going to get the benefit out of the treatments, and they're going to think that the treatments aren't that great when they are. But it's just because they're not following up with the skincare at home. Yeah,
and I mean, I would say 50% of the clients I see are coming to us having tried lots of other things. So they're already kind of at that point where they know something isn't working, and that's when they tend to find us, because we're not on the high street, we're not that obvious, we get recommended by word of mouth. So they come in kind of semi-committed, so the retail thing actually comes quite easily. And we've obviously been helped by Reef, which has been brilliant lately, to get the whole team working together.
Yeah, we did a podcast with Reef, and he's like, his energy's so good for teaching sales, isn't it? Yeah. And that's made a difference.
Oh, absolutely. And what's lovely is we have members of the team that can obviously retail better than others, and now they're really levelling up. Yeah. And in fact, our apprentice is amazing. Yeah, amazing. She's got amazing confidence because she knows, and it is the right way to teach them. If you want to fix a skin problem, you've got to do the work at home. There is absolutely no way. And I'm brutally honest with my clients, and I'll say to them during the consultation, everyone's got a budget, and if you're thinking you're going to come in once a month and have a facial and that's going to do it, I'm going to say to you, don't spend the money on those facials. We call it the bottom rung. Get the foundations right. Let's get you at least a simple, healthy skincare routine, and we obviously look at supplements, because internal skin stuff is important. Get that right, and then if you can afford the facials on top, that's fair enough. But for us, it's kind of, we're a little bit the other way around sometimes.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And it makes such sense as well. It's just such a shame though, isn't it, that the way the education goes for training therapists, that retail and selling, well, not selling, advising is secondary to treatments. You know, it to me, it has to be one and all together.
They should be really teaching it at college, because actually, I will say to my girls, you know, you're not selling, you're sharing. We are really strong on education. I don't ever want, my girls will never say, oh, this smells nice, or this feels lovely. I want them to tell them why they need it, what it's going to do for their skin. And if they have got a really complicated, complex kind of condition, I don't know, acne rosacea or something, we'll explain it. And I literally will get a piece of paper out and explain it and make sure that they understand why. Because half of the time the problem is with influencers, and don't start me with the TikTok nonsense. They actually come in with compromised barriers because they've tried to fix it. They've actually inadvertently made it worse. And what I always say to them is, look, if you just a little bit of learning now, even if you choose not to stay with us, you won't go away and buy the wrong things and continue to do this damage. So the whole thing is, and then I'll say to the girls, well, if you're educating a client about it, it would be like going to the doctor saying, well, there's something wrong with this finger, and then they've got an answer to fix it but don't tell you. It's the same thing. It's actually wrong if you don't offer the solution to the client.
Yeah, I would love to see that change in the education system. But say, you know, it's in some ways it is a separate skill, but it should be part of it.
Yeah.
But it is just it is knowledge. It's like we always like to say in my clinic, you know, it's not about selling products, it's about just giving someone, like you say, the best advice, and then it's what they do with it. But you know, I'm sure all your clients that you give advice to, if they don't take that advice there and then, they'll be straight back though, are they?
They usually do, yeah, and I'm very prone to telling a client off. They see me coming in reception and go,
what a surprise, Amanda.
Oh, she's going to check that I did X, Y, Z today. And yeah, I do. I am quite strong about it. You know, I mean, they've paid good money to come and see me for all the experience we've got, or any of us. So,
yeah. You know. Do you follow up with clients as well
yes.
on their products
like
and things?
All the time.
Yeah.
So every client will get a follow-up, usually either a text or a phone call. It depends what it is. And we actually diarise them so that they don't get forgotten.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, normally.
This is the thing I see happen in a lot of clinics, is that like there's a front end, there's a lot of like, right, getting clients onto products. But then, you know, where it's like someone runs out of something, if they're not sort of prepped to get that next product, they'll just go back to like what they were doing before, or an old routine.
I mean, again, I think we probably suffer with that less because of the kind of clients we're dealing with, because they've really got a problem that needs fixing, so they generally wouldn't come off the wagon. But I, like the girls and myself, we follow it up because it's just checking in actually that they're using it the right way. Have they got any questions? So we'll often send clients away with products with stronger actives in. So we might start them off once a week, twice a week, and then 2 weeks later we're saying to them, how's it going? If they message back, oh, it's brilliant, well then let's add another night in. So they know all the time that they are constantly looked after. And that's been something I've been adamant about from day one, because actually it's all very well and good being, oh, here's a lovely cup of tea and a nice biscuit and I really care about you, and then they walk out the door and done.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think that's what is one of the things that sets your clinic apart. And I mean, it's so formidable, the way that you look after clients and everything like that. And obviously, you know, this year you are Professional Beauty Skin Clinic of the Year.
Stunned wasn't the word, actually.
And that was the first time you'd entered?
First time I'd entered anything, yeah.
That's brilliant, because I think, again, there's this misconception that, you know, you've got to be entering awards a few times before you ever get anywhere and all of this, you know, and I think obviously you are just so focused. Now, I'd have loved to have read that application, because I'm sure it was like just
Still
like
got
sort
it
of like
somewhere.
it would be brilliant, because you are so like attention driven as well, which is absolutely fabulous. So then, what you went on to win other awards since then, though?
So the same one again, the advanced esthetician one, and then we were finalists in, I think we've been finalists in lots of awards, but the only other one that we've won is the Skin Clinic of the Year,
Yeah.
which
yeah.
is one I really, really wanted, and I've really, really wanted. I think because we try so hard to not separate in a bad way, but make a distinction between, I did used to run a salon before. This is definitely a clinic, and
Yeah.
that's why that appeals to me. I think there's a definite, slightly different connotation to it. It's a little bit more medical.
So in your clinic, you only do advanced skincare treatments. What sort of the most basic of facials you do? Is that a hands-on facial, or is it?
We don't really do. We do have hands-on facials. There's 4 of us at the minute, and all we do is skin all day long. And I also try and move away a little bit from this facial thing, because we treat skin anywhere. So I look after. My favourite thing is a post-trauma. So I love scars. Really bad acne, rosacea. We treat all. I don't think there's a body part. Be careful what I say. I don't think there's a body part that we haven't treated, because actually skin is skin. So we've had people in with absolutely chronic dermatitis, so you can see skin down to their bones. We deal with psoriasis, eczema, post-surgical scarring, burns, all that kind of stuff we have coming in. We have a very high percentage of men, I think, compared to most places.
What percentage of men?
Some days I feel like it could be 30% of the diary can be male. And we actually currently have men that come in, older men now, which is a lovely change, coming in doing some of the kind of anti-aging stuff. They're aware that there's help out. We have lots and lots of young men with acne, who are some of the people that I really enjoy treating the most, actually. I think if you've got acne and you're male, it's harder. And the confidence thing is awful for them, and we can really help them. And they usually start by being dragged in by their mums.
Yeah.
And then yes,
But without going to somewhere like your clinic, though, a lot of it is just trying to find something online, which is normally
and it's always wrong.
Great advice.
It's always wrong, I'm afraid to say. I pretty much say I don't think there's anything out there to treat acne specifically. It's always designed for oily acne. It's always aggressive. It always upsets their skin barrier. They have no education about wearing UV screen, and if you're going to have acne and not put UV screen on, you will get PIH, you'll get scarring. And so I always say to them, right, my job is you're not going to never have a spot after we look after you, but we're going to manage you through this phase. And what we want is that you come out at the end unscarred, because a lot of the times people are so focused, and there's this really big problem, I think. There's so much emphasis on let's get rid of the acne at expense of skin. So actually you can usually see someone in their 40s who's had acne when they were younger, and they'll also have accelerated photoaging because of the products they used on their skin to treat the acne. Yeah. So I always say to them, my job is skin health. So even if they're 14 and really bored with me talking at them, they will get the UV screen lecture. Everyone will, because it's my job. And I always say to them, it's my job to make sure that when you're 58, 100 years old like me, you're not wrinkly and sun damaged. We can prevent that from now. It's about education at that age.
Yeah. So I know as well you treat a lot of trans clients as well.
Yep. We have. I always have, actually. When I first worked in London, when I worked in Chingford, we had some of the transgender surgery clients coming into us then. In fact, I guess it was the NHS or the council used to pay us for electrolysis.
Yeah, we used to get paid for electrolysis as well.
Yeah, so it's an arena we've always worked in, and now there's a lot more that we can do for them, whether that's managing things like acne when they're having hormone therapy and treatments. We do have quite a few clients from that community. We literally, if you've got skin, we treat you.
And do you work quite closely with your GPs and things then?
Yeah, well, interestingly, that's my old job was when I was selling cardiology jobs, was I used to stalk doctors all around the place. I used to hold meetings for GPs and all sorts. And my original plan, when I had like an epiphany, when I had all my beauty therapy skills that I wasn't using, and I had my scientific knowledge and I had my pharmaceutical knowledge, so I understand formulations and drugs and products quite well. I was a bit like, how do I make this all marry up? And there is definitely that marry up in the clinic environment that we've got now. But my original plan was, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start stalking all the GPs and get them to send everyone to me. And funny enough, I haven't done it too much. My GP does, the people that know me, but the NHS, it's a bit of a sticky wicket really at the minute.
I think there's so many things though that GPs now can't well, they can advise on, but they like to refer someone on. The wait lists are so long.
But the problem is, so I'm aware of the restrictions that GPs work under because that was my industry before, and they're actually not allowed. So they're not allowed. Unfortunately, they could be sat in a consultation with someone and think, or an appointment with someone, do you know what, I can't do anything, but they can down the road. They're not really allowed because it opens up the system to... well, you can imagine it'd be a free-for-all. Everyone would be going in. But the people that know us, we certainly get them. We have plastic surgery referrals because we do recovery after surgical. We can make facial surgery here an awful lot faster and the journey easier.
Yeah.
So we do that.
So obviously you have a plethora of products that you use.
We do.
Do you work with certain ranges or do you... cherry pick what you...
We have I think over the years there's probably not a lot that I haven't tried. We have I think maybe 5 or 6 brands that we use at the minute, but we don't use all of it. I flatly refuse to take the whole lot, and we have what we call our heroes. So for me, if I'm going to treat acne, I'll know exactly which range of products I'm probably going to use. If it's an aging well type program, there's a couple of brands that are outstanding for that. Pigmentation removal, again, there are different brands that we use for each. And along with nutritional work, and in fact that's probably an area that we're already good with our nutrition work, but we probably could do more. Not as in telling clients what to have, but I always say to you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you can't eat that and you can't eat this, but what I will say is skin loves X, Y and Z, and if you're missing it, we can patch up those holes for you, because the results are outstanding when you get their internal support right and their home care right, and then start driving the skin a little bit with some of the regenerating treatments that we do in clinic. The results are staggering. They're brilliant, but it has to be all of it. It's like a holistic thing.
So winning awards as a skin clinic, obviously, I mean, like, anyone listen to this, you just ooze your knowledge and how great you are. How do you find getting the right people to be part of your team? And obviously there's a big thing in the industry that there's nobody great out there, which I think there's some fabulous therapists out there. But I mean, I've met your team. Your team are amazing. They are just such a great reflection of you. How have you managed that, and how do you maintain that?
Well, that's an interesting question. That is a bit of a problem for us a lot of the time. I have been through quite a few staff. I don't mean that in the wrong way. For instance, when I had my salon before in the back of the gym, I actually made the decision and we stopped. We knocked out 60% of our income, so I just stopped it almost overnight. No more nails, no more whatever. And at the time, I had a level 3 therapist working for me who was fantastic, outstanding at nails, but not comfortable in the skin arena. She was in terms of kind of your relaxing, soothing facial, but as soon as I was like, right, we need to start talking about more advanced treatments and getting into the nitty-gritty of skin problems, it was too much for her. So she went off and did what she was brilliant at, which is nails. And I do find it hard to recruit. And generally what would happen with us, if we bring someone in at level 3, we pretty much retrain them. Because for me, what they teach them at college is they're just completely out of their depth. They really need to be doing, well, when I did level 4, I was shocked, absolutely shocked at the difference of what I'd learned at level 3 and level 4. It was almost felt like at the time that there needed to be 3.5.
Yeah.
Because there's such a huge leap. And I had a biology degree behind me, but it was still felt like a huge leap. And I think that there's no... So currently the situation is I have my 2 absolute rock stars that you've met.
Yeah.
Who
love
are
them.
fantastic. And we do spend a lot of time training. I can't help myself. I walk in and I'll be going, well, I read this at 3 o'clock in the morning. And did you hear that? And actually they have to kind of control me. And in fact, they've just reminded me we need to go back to our monthly meeting where I stand up and write it down and say properly, this is why I'm thinking this. And otherwise they look at me like I've gone a bit bonkers. Why is she doing that? But we have also an apprentice who's not a college apprentice. We're actually training her in-house. And I think maybe for me, that's the way that I'll do it in the future because she's actually been working for me since she was 14.
Yeah. And she started when she was 14.
Yeah.
And then, is she level 2 now?
She's
or
level 2 and she's 17 now. And she just used to do a few hours, I think, basically to see if she even liked the industry. And she was very determined that she wanted to do skin. And this is the other thing I think that's actually proving very positive in the industry, in that she didn't have to do, she hasn't done nails and waxing. She's only done level 2 in skin. And we're about to start 3, and it will only be electrical facials and that part. Not that I would have stopped her. I'd have happily let her do it all. But if you're focused that is the arena you want to work in, and that needs to really happen in the education. So then, therefore, instead of diluting and being a jack of all trade at level 2 and level 3, she's very focused and she's learning super fast. She's fantastic.
And that's because you've taken her down the apprenticeship route.
Yeah, it isn't an official apprenticeship. We do have an external examiner. She's actually doing City and Guilds exams.
Yeah.
So I train her, we teach her. She does online syllabuses and exams, and then the external examiner makes sure she has an IQA to make sure that we're doing everything properly, and she has external exams just like anyone would at college.
That's really interesting because when my very first ever employee, this is before official apprenticeships were out there, I'd tailor-made her education exactly for what we needed and worked with our local college at that time and just got her into what I needed her to be in. And I mean, she ended up being with us for, I think 12, 13 years, maybe more. And, and she was absolutely perfect because she was concentrating on just what we needed at that time. And funny enough, like, we're still in touch 36 years later. I still see her, and which is so great. But at that time, if she'd just gone down a standard beauty route, it just wouldn't have been the same. So hopefully, as things move forward, I think most salon owners don't realise that you can sort of like tailor make things as well.
I'm not sure how widely available it is. It's because somebody I know is helping us out. But exactly that. And I had your traditional type of apprentice when I worked in the back of the gym. She stayed with me for 7 years actually. And we're still in touch. But she came with me when one of the girls left because her thing was nails. She stayed with me and did the skin route. And 7 years. But I have to say, what she learnt at college really wasn't relevant to what we were doing in the clinic at all. It was just a case of ticking the boxes, and that's my thing, I suppose, about education. You should be able to do it individually, but to a very high standard. And I actually think if that time that they spent at college using level 3, if they said, "Oh, I want to be a hair removal specialist," then great, just do that. Yeah. And then after 2 years, you really are coming out knowing your trade. I feel like, I mean, you and I'm presuming, but I did 3 years full time at college.
I did 4.
You beat. I need to go back. You beat me. But you came out really confident at handling clients. And nowadays they come out of college, well, I've done a formative and I've done a summative. And what, 2? And I interviewed a girl once who said she'd waxed only a right leg, and that was it, wasn't it?
But I think the difference as well when I did my training was that there wasn't really there wasn't beauty therapists out there who were qualified to teach. So I got taught by all of my anatomy and everything was taught by a physiotherapist. You know, we used to get electrical science by, we were in with the electricians. We used to get like cosmetic science by a scientist and, you know,
Yeah.
all of the things. So we were actually taught by experts in those individual fields kind of thing, which was, looking back, it was a fantastic education. So after 4 years, we came out, we did some strange things. We like art and things. I can always remember drawing owls, and we used to do nutrition. I can remember making scones.
Yeah, we did. We were in the metalwork labs on Friday afternoons, and it was always boiling. And I remember saying to the lecturer, "Why have we got to do metalwork? Can't see the point. What's the point?" And he actually said to me, I've never forgotten this. He said to me, "Well, if they've got, you know, a spotty face and you can't help them, you can make a nice pair of earrings to distract everybody." And that's for real. That's what he said to me.
Yeah. But I mean, I can always remember electrical science. I can always remember thinking that the same, you know, like what? But now I can look at a piece of equipment and pretty much like think, that's going to be really good or not, you know. So yes, there was a lot of good things. Making mascaras and things was always choice. But yeah, I mean, I think our education was a different level, but it was a great training ground, wasn't it?
And actually, it's life experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just age. It gives you time, and every experience you have.
Yeah.
And the more you've been through in life, absolutely, the better you are at handling the clients that come in through the front door.
Yeah. So what's your plans for the future now?
Now there's the question. I haven't decided yet, really. I'm really not sure. I've pretty much spent my whole life studying, and now I can feel the bug coming back a bit. I'm not quite sure what, but I never seem to be completely feeling I'm at my best unless I'm learning something.
Yeah.
And I get asked this question all the time, and I'm really not a planner. I really do mean that my journey's been like that to get where I am now. And I feel like something will happen. Mm-hmm. We've toyed with the idea of doing some training, but currently I think it's a really controversial arena at the minute, and I'd rather sit back for a while and wait and see what happens. I'm not sure about having a bigger clinic or more clinics because, again, I am probably a bit of a control freak about the standard and the way the girls work. Yeah. And it would be very hard to replicate that en masse.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is that, like, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, everyone always thinks big is better, and it's not necessarily, you know, and I think you've sort of like canned what you've got and good for you.
I mean,
it's
for
brilliant.
me personally, I'm going to go back, and I'm saying back because obviously I've had my knee replaced as well, so I've been out for a while. But I have missed dealing with the clients one-to-one, so I'm going to go back and kind of we're still not sure what to call them, skin transformations, skin coaching, skin mentoring. And I'm going to go back and have me, so that I will work with clients one-to-one and I'll see them for everything, which is not what I have been doing. Yeah. And that's actually really me being purely selfish, because I want to get that moment at the end when they come in delighted. I want to be the one going, yes, I did that. No, I really want to see that. So I'm going to go back personally doing
I think that's the way forward, though, isn't it? Rather than someone booking for set amount of treatments, it's like, you know, like, no, I'll just take care of you. Yeah, that's where.
Well, and then it allows me the freedom to work the way I work, and actually a lot of the time we do is, as in, they don't necessarily need to book anything; they just need to turn up, and then we'll decide because we are managing their skin. Yeah,
I love that. Absolutely love that. So, Amanda, if you could give couple of bits of great advice from all of your years of
all of my years.
What are your golden nuggets that you would pass on?
Well, I think I've touched on it a couple of times. I think it's a huge industry, and it offers such a range of skills and treatments. I think I love what I do so much. I think it's really sad if people go to work and don't thoroughly enjoy, let's forget what you're earning, but thoroughly enjoy what they're doing. And everybody's got their speciality. So I would always encourage people to pick that speciality and follow their dream and be the best in it. Because actually, I think it's too big an arena to be excellent at everything.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we call ourselves specialists. All we do is skin.
Yeah.
And there are some amazing specialist waxers out there and nail bars, and they're all fantastic. But I think everyone should try and find their niche. And I'm a little bit concerned about education. Obviously, at the minute, I think everybody needs to stop. If you want to be a specialist, half an hour online, which a lot of people did during lockdown, does not a skin specialist make. It actually is going to walk you into trouble. But if you really want to be a skin specialist, which is fabulous and the best job in the world, go away and do the learning and do it, because everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Everyone can do it, but do it thoroughly, do it well.
Yeah.
Those certificates on the wall, and we do have a lot. Certificates on the wall are great, but that doesn't help you if you're in a situation one-to-one with a client, locked in that room. You need, not locked in, but you need the confidence. You actually need to know what you know.
Yeah.
Not just have a little pretty
Yeah.
certificate on the wall, and that worries me. People need
I
to.
always like to say, if you can't answer the why for clients, just always think clients thinking, why should I do that? Why should I do that? To me, you should be answering those questions before a client even gets to the why would I want to do that? Why would I do that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And if you don't know the why, you shouldn't be talking about it in the first place.
No.
Not the in-depth why, anyway.
No. So that's my main one. The other one, we need to make one up.
I think we've got both of them there. I think that covers everything, as in be educated and find your niche.
And be careful about the education.
Yeah.
Really be careful who you're paying,
really,
where
really
you're studying.
Research who you are studying with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, Amanda, that's just been awesome. I could talk to you for hours. And your knowledge is just amazing, and well deserved to be winner of Skin Clinic of the Year and whatever you go on to do in the future. Amazing.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank
It's been
you.
great.